This death of Laken Riley and the subsequent trial has essentially been a massive political lightning rod here in this country. And you said it there yourself, the president-elect campaigning on the death of Laken Riley and pointing to the current administration, saying that their laws and what they're calling failed policies contributed to Laken Riley's death. I want to remind you that Ibarra entered this country illegally in 2022, according to law enforcement officials, and he was paroled and released for further processing by ICE. And since that time he entered the country, he was arrested another time. Law enforcement officers saying that he was arrested in 2023 in New York City and charged with acting in a manner to injure a child less than 17, as well as a motor vehicle violation. But it's important to note that although there is very little evidence indicating a connection between immigration and violent crime, this is still something the President-elect Trump, several Republicans on the Hill wanted to essentially plant their flag on and point that to the current Biden administration. And we saw that even as early as President Biden's latest State of the Union address, where Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene infamously interrupted President Biden, forcing him to acknowledge the death of Laken Riley, something that President Biden did by holding up a pin in her during that State of the Union. But it is important to note that all of this vitriol that we're hearing from Republicans and President-elect Trump regarding the policies of the Biden administration, it's important to know that President-elect Trump did force Republicans to essentially tank a bipartisan border security bill that both sides of the aisle said would have essentially addressed border security and immigration issues, Kira.
Yeah, so what you guys just saw there is another example of why people do not trust the mainstream liberal media, okay? That dude essentially tried to blame Trump for the illegal immigration crisis, right? He tried to basically say that Trump blaming the Democrats for the death of Laken Riley, also all of the other negative things that have happened as a result of illegal immigration in this country, is unfair, right? It is unfair for Trump to blame the Democrats. That's essentially what that ABC anchor is trying to argue. But yet he wants to blame Trump for not getting on board with a so-called bipartisan border bill that would not secure the border. And by the way, Trump is not in Congress, right? So again, I'm not sure why is it they keep blaming Trump when he does not have a vote on that bill, right? He doesn't get the opportunity to vote on it. Again, it just showed you the desperation to defend the indefensible, which is the fact that Democrats have put themselves in this situation when it comes to the illegal immigration crisis in this country. And we have to talk about another situation in which Democrats are facing the consequences of the policies that they supported. Like, for example, throughout all of the last 4 years after the George Floydification of this country, Democrats have not only supported illegal immigration, mass illegal immigration, they've also supported being soft on crime. So when you have illegal immigrants pour into the country because of the Democrats and their open border policies, due to the sanctuary city policies of the Democrat Party, the illegal immigrants aren't arrested. If they are arrested, they aren't charged, and they're definitely not deported because of the sanctuary city policies that demand that local law enforcement do not work with ICE in order to deport criminals. And Democrats have suffered the consequences of their soft on crime policies. And we've talked about these stories a lot. And we have to talk about another story in which a Democrat is suffering from the policies of being soft on crime, having a sanctuary city, and the border being open all at the same time, which is the cause of Laken Riley's death. But this time, the victim is a prosecutor from woke DA Alvin Bragg's Manhattan office, okay? She was robbed and attacked in her apartment by an illegal immigrant that is suspected to be a part of a Venezuelan gang. Take a look.
Next story about violence in New York City. Another story about it. A city where residents are already questioning why the flood of random attacks.
And this particular attack with an unusual twist clearly proves that nobody is immune to street violence. The victim this time, an assistant district attorney here in Manhattan. She was confronted Sunday at her apartment in Midtown.
And the evildoer in all this hitting her up for money and then engaged in a disgusting behavior. Here's Lauren Glassberg.
Well, that suspect, 25-year-old Brandon Somoza, will be arraigned at criminal court here in Lower Manhattan, but it will actually be a Bronx district attorney that prosecutes him. That's to avoid any conflict of interest since the alleged victim is a Manhattan assistant district attorney. This is video of a smiling Brandon Somoza being led out of the Midtown South precinct on West 35th Street this morning. Police say at about 2 a.m. Sunday, he robbed a 38-year-old woman in the hallway of her Hell's Kitchen apartment building. He allegedly grabbed her purse, cell phone, and bank cards and also performed a lewd act. The victim is a Manhattan assistant DA. She was not injured. Police traced her stolen cell phone to a hotel on West 45th Street, which led them to believe the suspect is a migrant, and they were able to track him down. Somoza was arrested just last night. Police say he was using drugs on the street and had stolen items with him. Police believe he is part of Tren de Aragua. That's the Venezuelan gang that has preyed on people in Times Square and Central Park. Somoza is facing a number of counts, including sexually motivated robbery and burglary. He also has 6 prior arrests, all from this year on similar crimes. And he's believed to have arrived in the U.S. in February of 2023. In Lower Manhattan, Lauren Glassberg, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Yeah, so this situation right here highlights the problem with the illegal immigrants in this country, right? The problems that Democrats refuse to address, that they refuse to take responsibility for, because over and over and over and over and over again, we're seeing the same pattern of behavior here, which is, one, the illegals who are allowed into the country because of Biden's open border policies, okay? And then they're transported to some liberal city in which they start to commit crimes and cause chaos. They get arrested multiple times for very serious crimes. And not only are they not deported because of the sanctuary city policies, they are let back into the street, right, to commit more crimes until eventually they commit an extremely serious crime, like, for example, murdering somebody, which is exactly what happened to Laken Riley. But according to ABC News, oh, well, that's not the Democrats' fault. That this is hate and vitriol coming from the Trump campaign to say that Democrats are responsible, when quite literally you can document each Democrat policy and trace it directly back to why this illegal immigrant was let into the country in the first place. Why is it that they ended up in a liberal city? Why is it that they were arrested and they were not deported? And why is it that they were just let back out into the streets, right? All of these things have to do with Democrat policies. And that's exactly what happened in this situation. And that's the irony here, because Alvin Bragg's office is responsible, right? They're responsible for not helping ICE deport these illegals, right? For enforcing these sanctuary city policies, because they are supposed to have these illegal immigrants who commit these crimes held so that they can be deported, but they refuse to do so. And what is the result? Well, it seems like there's nobody that is immune from the consequences of bad policies, even those who are responsible for the bad policies, right? Again, it's crazy to me how Democrats always have to learn the hard way, okay? But hey, at least woke DA Alvin Bragg, he's focused on the real criminals, which he apparently believes is the president of the United States, or the president-elect, whom he is so hell-bent on trying to throw in jail that he is now advocating to further delay the sentencing of the former president so that in 4 years after President Trump is done with his second term, he can try to throw Trump in jail again instead of just giving up. Take a look.
Joining me now is Jim Trusty, former assistant U.S. attorney for the District of Maryland and previously represented Donald Trump in both the January 6th and classified documents case. Jim, good to see you again. What do you make of this decision by Alvin Bragg?
I think Bragg's lining up to punt on second down. I mean, you're exactly right. This is crazy territory. And I think there's a backstory that's worth mentioning here. You know, this is, by all accounts, an inventive prosecution. That's probably the cleanest word I can use for it on TV. And one that I know you've called out as being kind of selective and strange and misguided. But it's also a case that even if you accept that these inventive felonies are somehow crimes, that your own internal bookkeeping about a perfectly legal NDA is a crime, it shouldn't lead to jail for anybody.
Right.
And so the backstory in my mind is Bragg's office, for all of these like ridiculous statements about how they just care about accountability and fairness, if they were not seeking jail, they could say, let's just go to sentencing. We're not even asking for prison, judge. Let's get this over with. So clearly, I think behind the scenes, I don't know this from any inside knowledge, but strikes me the right inference here is Bragg's office wants to seek jail on this ridiculous case. And now they want to basically just punt it for 4 years and hope that the dust settles in a way where they can come back and do it. I mean, it's ludicrous to me.
Let's say it wasn't jail time. Let's say it was community service. I mean, I can't see the president-elect, on the side of the road cleaning up trash either.
Well, he has a trash truck and he's got a vest, so I don't know about that, Dan. I mean, that worked out pretty well being called
That's
garbage.
True.
Yeah. So again, that is how much their priorities are out of line, right? I mean, this guy is literally prioritizing trying to throw Trump in jail 4 years from now because he knows that if he actually tries to do it now, he's not going to be able to do it because Trump is president, right? And that could make the whole case fall apart. A case that should never have been brought in the first place, but it was because, again, this guy clearly is trying to prosecute his political opponents, right? He's clearly abusing the powers of his office. And because he can't get his way, right? Because the president being elected again is getting into his way, he's like, all right, cool. Well, I'm just going to wait 4 years and then I'm going to try to jail the guy, right? I'm just saying, if they put this much effort into actually prosecuting and going after actual criminals, right, and the illegal immigrants that are committing crimes, I don't know, maybe New York would actually be a safer place. But instead, they put time and effort into going after their political opponents, and you can see the result, right? Crime is so out of control. The illegal immigration problem is so out of control that even people from his own office are getting robbed, right? They're getting robbed, okay? Getting attacked. So I don't know, man. Who knows, right? Maybe the universe is saying something, right, to the woke DA office that your priorities are out of line. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.